So we're into February now, and I know lots of people have recently been talking about motivation or struggling with motivation, not feeling motivated, struggling to find their mojo, etc. I think it's quite a common thing for this particular month, especially amongst equestrians, for a couple of reasons. We've all done, the January New Year's resolutions, and probably lots of people have tried to stick to them, and you had that initial kick of like, yeah, it's January, let's stick to our resolutions, let's do something really cool and really big, and I don't know, whatever it might be. And you just had Christmas, and it was like a good time to get started. And then you try and give it your all for January, or things don't go to plan, like we had another load of freezing weather, which for us guys in the equestrian world, well, there's lots of other people, wasn't great. Suddenly you're defrosting taps again and possibly can't ride or can't turn out because it's not safe. So all of these things can massively affect motivation. Also, although it's got lighter, it's still pretty dark, it's still kind of cold. Horses are still quite hard work at this time of year, as I say, especially when we go from like non-freezing weather to then back to freezing weather. What rugs are we going to put on? Who knows? It's quite tricky. So I think there's a couple of things about motivation. I might put a couple of links below of some podcasts I've listened to recently. So one was David Goggins on the Modern Wisdom podcast with Chris Williamson. Really interesting interview with him. I won't go into too much detail. I might talk about it another time. But yeah, that was an interesting one. He's done some incredible stuff. Also a couple about kind of habit forming, and I'm currently reading Atomic Habits by, I think it's by James Clear. I hope that's right. I'll possibly put the link to that as well. Anyway, so I think the problem with motivation is it's never going to last forever. And then people say, okay, well then discipline takes over, and that's cool, but sometimes it's kind of hard to stay disciplined too. I think a lot of people lose motivation possibly because of overwhelm, where they start to kind of think, yeah, because this is what I want to do, and we're going to go here, and we're going to do that, and we're going to go to that show and go to this show, and I'm going to be competing at that level by that point. So again, goal setting is often seen as being something to help motivate you because you've got an aim, and that's cool and can be really helpful if you then break that goal down sensibly and well into its steps. Because sometimes you've got this idea that, I don't know, you want to do your first one-day event on a horse, or you want to go and take it to its first show, or whatever it might be. You want to start getting out competing again regularly or something. And that's like, yeah, I really want to do that, that's cool. And then you realise that, I don't know, you're working 2 jobs to find the money. It's dark at night, and you don't really feel like going out late at night. Your weekends are really busy at the moment because, I don't know, like for me, I've got the 2 children and we've got a yard full of horses, and so sometimes then it feels like more hard work to get out and about than not, and the horses aren't getting ridden enough, or there's always barriers. So you've always got these barriers that are there kind of preventing you. So you've got the motivations that are the things that make you want to do it, and then you've got these barriers that are the things that prevent you from doing it. And how do you get over those barriers and head back towards that motivation, I guess, is the question. And I think the key is to stop it from feeling like this overwhelming, gigantic issue. You have to find what the first step is, and then what the second step is, and you just have to take it step by step. So have that goal in mind by all means of, I want to go to a show, so I want to get to a show, that would be great. But it feels a bit, I feel like the horses aren't ready, they're not fit enough. Okay, so that could then be like, oh my God, how am I going to get them fit enough? Okay, so the horses aren't ready, they're not fit enough. So what do I need to do? I need to get them fitter. How am I going to do that? I need to make sure I can ride them regularly enough. So 4 times a week generally is what I manage to do with those guys. It's maybe not perfect, but it's enough. I can get them fit off that. Okay, how am I going to do that? Take the next step back. So I'm going to schedule in which days I ride, and I'm going to keep that in my schedule. So I'm going to make sure I know what days, what times I'm riding. So that's then scheduled in. That's non-negotiable then. Okay, then I need to think about how I make sure that those riding times are the most useful. Well, then I have a little plan of what I'm going to do in those sessions. And again, micro goals, little tiny aims of I could do with improving. I'd like to get Roxy to some dressage at some point, so I could do with improving her transition to canter. So I need to get her strong enough to do that. Now, that's not necessarily by doing shed loads of canter transitions. I've got exercises in mind that can improve the transition to canter, and that's what I need to do with her. So you can break it back down into, where do I want to be? Why am I finding that a bit overwhelming? What are those barriers I'm putting up that kind of go, I really want to do that, but I don't think I can because X, Y, Z, this is happening, that's going on. And none of that is necessarily untrue. But maybe you can break past those barriers by going, okay, well, what can I do? What do I need to do? That feels hard. So what do I need to do to get past that step? Okay, and what do I need to do to get past that step? So you kind of take it from here and you work backwards to find what your first step is. And once you know what your first step is, take one step. Can I do that one step? And if you can, take it. Worry about step 2 once you've taken step 1. Because then you have to think, can I take that next step? Can I take one more step to do that? And probably 90% of the time you'll be like, yeah, I can take that step and I can do that. And it may be that you have to juggle other bits of your life around to make the time to ride or whatever. I know that's not easy. Trust me, I know that's not easy. But again, you might be able to work out, okay, I've not got time to ride because I've got to work here and here, and I've got to be there then, and I've got to be there then. So rather than putting up all those barriers of what you've got to do, look at where you can find the time. Where can you find that time? Who could help you with that? Is there someone that could help you that you're a bit worried to ask, or have you just not wanted to ask somebody? And sometimes it maybe is worth asking for that help. So I don't know, maybe that's helped, maybe it hasn't, let me know. Or if you've got a real issue that you can't figure out how to get past or what to do, then drop a comment below. Feel free to reach out, ask, because sometimes somebody looking from the outside in, it's a lot easier to see solutions to other people's problems, I suppose, for want of a better word. It can be easier for somebody else to see a solution or help you through that than for those of us sort of closest to our own issues, where the kind of gut reaction is, well, that won't work because, or I've tried that and it doesn't work because. So yeah, maybe reach out, drop a comment below. What is what's your motivation? What is it that motivates you? What is that thing that makes you want to do this? Whatever it may be, the competition, the riding, the training, I don't know, whatever you want to do with your horse, what is the motivation behind it? And if you're not managing to do it, what are your barriers? What's stopping you? And how can you break that down to step past the barrier towards the motivation? I hope that makes some sense, and I hope maybe it's a little bit helpful. Minnie's coming for the big kiss. I hope that's helpful, and I hope that when whatever it might be, if you get to that point of feeling a bit overwhelmed by it, a bit like it feels like too big a task, hopefully that will just help. What's your motivation? Why did you want to do this in the first place? What pleasure is it going to bring you? What good stuff is it going to bring you? And yeah, what are those barriers? What's stopping you? And they'll feel like real barriers, some of them, and they will be real barriers. That doesn't mean they're not there, but there's probably a way you can break past those barriers. Anyway, hope that helps. Enjoy the rest of your evening and have a good week.